Welcome to another episode of Wild Ones, and today I'm sitting with Macaila Wagner, a fellow Canadian who, just like us at the SOSA, are traveling internationally, telling stories about the conservation initiatives that are dire and important. She started with her education in zoology at the University of Guelph, where she became a registered biologist. And now, very similar to me, has been traveling the world and spreading all of that knowledge and her passion through media. And here, specifically with us in the SOSA, coming on as a storyteller, at least so far so good. And she's here in Costa Rica on a little mini adventure, visiting multiple different organizations in Costa Rica to tell their stories and just see if she blends well with the team. This is going to be a candid, real conversation with Macaila Wagner. And so let's welcome her, because she's a little nervous.
Thank you for the nice introduction. Cheers.
Cheers.
First podcast.
Now take a sip. Now a deep breath.
I don't know why I'm so nervous. It's just about me. I know the answers.
Yeah, and for us people that face the camera, we love when it's about us. So this should be easy for her. So let's dive into it. Realistically, I mean, this kind of all started because, one, I think there's a very clear understanding that education is important. Mm-hmm. No one knows about the actual challenges and complexity of the conservation space. Mm-hmm. And we have only been able to do so much. I started as just myself, obviously broadening into the SOSA, bringing on more people. You know, Scott is a videographer who can help with the visual, right? But it's capped at just me if I can't start to find other people who I align with to bring on to these types of missions and adventures to help tell these stories. And you've been already doing that in your own way. Mm-hmm. And I think the impressive part to that is that you have done it literally from a self-starter. I've been lucky enough, or not lucky enough, to go on a reality TV show, which brought a lot of the audience that I have that's now converted. But for Macaila, I mean, you've built it all yourself. But this just didn't start in the last few years, because the passion and the dedication has to start way further back.
Yeah.
So before zoology and the biology and all of that,
yep.
Where was the first point to which you realized you wanted to do this? Was it influenced by parents, people around you, or are you just always naturally curious?
Let's go, way back. I think I don't actually have an idea of where it started specifically. Like, it's been one giant snowball that's kind of kept rolling. And I've thought about that a lot because a lot of people have asked me why I went this direction and why I'm here. I don't have one specific answer. I think a lot of it probably had something to do with my upbringing. I was an only child until I was 13, and I grew up on a farm. Had to amuse myself a lot. I didn't have anyone to hang out with. So I would literally go out into the backyard, and I would stay out for a while, and I would come home with buckets of salamanders and frogs and toads to show my parents. And that's how I amused myself on a day-to-day, which I think obviously started my love for just being outside. The way that it sort of spiraled from there is complex, I guess. I think one thing sort of led to another. I knew that I wanted to work outside and with animals in some sort of capacity. I think for a while I thought that might have been a vet.
Same.
Yeah, I think anyone who likes animals, you have the idea of wanting to be a vet, but then you realize that one, it's all quite negative. You're dealing with sick and dying animals, but then also you're stagnant. You are having a practice out of one location. And I always really, really wanted to travel from a little small farm town, Pembroke, Ontario. You're familiar?
Very familiar, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love growing up there, but I wanted to get out and go travel. So yeah, it sort of spiraled from there.
Okay, but when you're bringing it this far back, to take the jump to get into zoology, especially in Guelph, from my understanding and knowing Guelph's ranking in terms of academics,
yep.
That's not an easy course to get into.
No, a lot of people don't know, I got accepted into Guelph for kinesiology. I think I had the grades to apply to all these different programs. I got in under kinesiology, and I think after 2 months, I was why am I doing this? This doesn't make any sense. I think at that point when I was applying to schools, I was just ready to get out of Pembroke and have a new scenery. But then I switched very quickly into zoology, which was, yeah, a very hard program. Guelph is amazing. It's known for its like agricultural college, and it's like animal biology. It's also like straight track to a lot of people that want to do vet school. But yeah, got into zoology and that was a 4-year program, as Bachelor of Science. And throughout that, spent my summers in a lot of different ways. Like 2 of those summers were working as a raft guide, which I was around a lot of people who are very outdoorsy, very adventurous. That sort of started to kind of bring a lot more ideas. Then I did a summer in Whistler, which obviously fast track to now. I now live in Whistler. There's a lot of things along the way in school that kind of led me to where I am now. But one thing that really changed the course for me was at the end of my program, you could choose between doing like a individual research project like out of the school, or you could do a research project and pay extra to kind of travel elsewhere. I did mine in Churchill, Manitoba, which is subarctic, and that was like a really good example. I was working with a small team in the middle of nowhere. We were doing field work every day. And it was somewhere new, and I was like, oh, I want to do this all the time. And yeah, I finished that program and moved out to BC.
Do you feel like when you were growing up, because I had this challenge, was one, I was always, I know that you were a nerd per se, and I always had great grades. I never had that. I was always, a 50s kid, pretty much. And the only thing that I would excel in was 1, drama, and 2, like science class, anything to do with animals.
Yeah.
But I noticed this early ages all the way up and through, even through like college, up until like 25, where I never felt like I was contributing. And what I mean by that is everyone would have conversations around things and were super knowledgeable, and whether it was math or this, they always knew things. I never knew answers to any group conversations. And I always felt very awkward, and and I remember the times, any instance where I felt like I would solve a problem or an answer for someone that's like, hey, what is this or what is that? And I had the thing and could tell them. I remember always feeling very rewarded by that because it never came naturally.
Yeah.
And so I think as I got older, aligning and finding people in the space where I knew a lot of things about wildlife and animals, where I could speak on that and had the opportunity, because none of my friends gave a shit about animals. Right? So I could never speak about the thing that I cared about the most, or resonate or get excited about something, because it's like I would lift a log and find a frog and they'd be like, cool, let's go tubing at the cottage. And it's like, but I want to add this to my critter catcher and build a little ecosystem.
Exactly.
But did you have that problem? Because I never felt like I aligned with most of the people from my hometown, aside from like sports and those things. The deep passion was never an alignment for me.
Yeah, I found that when I went to university, that's how I met my best friend Avery. Like, we were in a very similar program, doing she was studying animal biology, I was doing zoology. That's where I really found my people, was in university, because it was just a lot of like-minded people. We were all interested in doing the same thing. And just having people around that kind of fill your cup in that sense, I guess. Fast track to now, if we want to get to the social media aspect, that's what is happening now, but on a crazy scale. There is so many people who do not care about that little lizard I saw on the tree earlier, but when I post it on my page and thousands of people are seeing it and being like, oh my God, that's so cool, that's the best thing ever. So yeah, being around people who actually care that came later on.
Yeah, I think with that, because I always felt almost not lonely, but am I a weirdo? Because why do I like these little things and this stuff, and everyone else just does not care at all? But just like you said, for me though, because I didn't go to school specifically for biology or zoology, a lot of it came from, well, for me, it was just going to South Africa for the first time and diving into Care for Wild and doing the volunteering with the rhinos, the orphan rhinos, and then being around those other people that were traveling to do that. I'm like, I like these people. I like how we can talk about the same things. I like that we're excited about the same things, and it feels like you're on a team, because there's not a lot of people that work towards this bigger goal. I don't care if it's finance. I don't care whatever it is. There's not this big overarching goal you're trying to solve that is better for the planet. And so when you find that group that is in the same career path, cares about the same things, it's like, oh, I'm on this team. And you know what I mean? You feel at home almost.
Yep.
But I never had that in school. But you were saying that you came out of school with top grades and and all of that.
I did good.
I did good.
I did well. It's crazy to use bad grammar when I say that. I did well.
But where you ended up essentially making a different change of direction came when? Because essentially you now are doing the thing you want to do. It's probably fulfilling, but like, where does the change come in?
So things switched heavily after school. After I finished that research project in Churchill, moved back out to BC. Actually, I moved to Kelowna first. Wasn't really my vibe, so I ended up back in Whistler. If people aren't familiar, Whistler, BC is quite the place. It's very
cheers.
Yeah, cheers. It's very fun. I really love living there. There's a lot going on, and I moved there with the intention to like, okay, I just finished school. I'm gonna have fun for a while, whatever. That didn't really last long at all. I was so eager and interested in getting into something relevant to what I studied. I worked at a restaurant for a bit, and I was just like, it was great, but I really wanted to get into the space. I was really excited about it. Obviously, I'd just done so many years of school for it. I was pumped. So I started kind of looking around. I ended up working in environmental consulting for like 3 years, which I have an interesting relationship with because it gave me so much experience. It's just not for me. It is really important work and people need to do it. But it's a lot to do with kind of obviously like large developments that are coming. So it's like I would go in and like pre-assess an area and then be like, okay, yeah, you can riff it all up and develop here. And like, again, it's super important. It wasn't filling my cup. I'd got a lot of experience working in the field and stuff though. And after a few years, I wanted to switch it up. Sorry, I'm trying to not focus on the lawnmower.
Don't have to worry about the lawnmower.
I'm really trying to ignore the lawnmower.
This is one pain in the ass we constantly deal with. You have Jorge with the whippersnipper.
Horton.
Is it Horton?
No, it was Jorge.
You got, two cans coming in squawking, and this just is what it is. It's the reality of it, and this will all be cut in.
I'm trying to stay focused.
Yeah, we're not polished. We're just real people out here trying to do some good. And so is Jorge, just trying to do his job, just like us. Keep going.
Jorge's doing his best. Sorry about that. So yeah, environmental consulting was great. So much experience. And I actually, wanted to just have a change. I saw a job opportunity pop up to work as a research technician on a spotted owl project. And I applied for it with I had obviously that experience from environmental consulting, but like, not necessarily super relevant. They ended up hiring me, and when I asked them why, they were like, you had the education background, not a lot of experience, but you were really excited. And I feel like that's a really good example of how I get into these positions, because like, even if I don't have the exact experience, I'm really like genuinely excited and I'm wanting to be involved and I'm wanting to help. So I did a contract for that, and that was one of the most incredible special projects I've ever worked on. Spotted owls are like essentially extinct in BC. So I got to work with a team that we actually released spotted owls from the breeding center back into the wild, trying to kind of implement their population in that area. Super important for indigenous cultures, all those things. It was super cool and very, very fulfilling, and it really made me realize that it was way more aligned with what I wanted to do. Then that contract ended October 31st, and at this point, I haven't discussed this yet, but at this point I had always been interested in social media. I'd always dabbled in social media in a very different way from what I do now. But when that contract ended, I was like debating what I wanted to do, and I had the opportunity and the freedom to finally go for it. So I was like, I'm gonna give myself 3 weeks, which is crazy thinking back now, given like how complex social media is. I was like, I'll give myself 3 weeks, and if I don't see anything good coming from this, I'm gonna just like get a job until the next contract comes about. I think it was a week and a half after I said that, I ended up posting a video that went crazy. And the reason that I posted that video, it was my step moss video, explaining like what step moss is and how to identify it. I actually filmed that video for my little siblings, and it was not meant for the internet at all. Like, I was out on a walk with Jay, I filmed this video, and I sent it to my mom to show the kids, and my mom was like, that's amazing, like you should post that. And Jay said the same thing. I did not want to at all. For some reason, I really wanted to do social media.
Well, I know the reasons, but well.
I really didn't. I just didn't want to, because I thought, I don't know. I thought that if I was going to do social media, I should go about it in a certain way. nature education stuff and like just nature in general is something that I get so excited about, and it's so special to me. I thought putting it on the internet of me being so genuinely excited about something, if people had negative things to say about it, I was scared that it would like affect how I felt about those things. But yeah, after that, I ended up posting it anyway, and it was amazing. And so many people, like all of the feedback was positive. Everyone was like, I have never looked or cared about moss. Now I'm interested. Now I'm going to go out and see this. Or now I'm finding myself like looking at the little things when I'm hiking. Like there's all the, like so much positive feedback came from it. And that video just kicked off. So I thought that I was onto something, and I just kind of kept going.
Okay, so before we jump into the next thing, I think that's like this prime example right here of a lot of the conversation that we've discussed about, and being that there's a lot of sensitivity around like what to post, how to post it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thinking that goes into it, and we have all been there, and you go through it here too. But this is a prime example where it's like everything that you were so worried about actually turned into the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And
I'm a chronic overthinker, you know.
right. And obviously it has worked for a lot of reasons up to this point, because you know, look what you're doing now. But for that prime example, it's always to like bring it back to like, okay, maybe I can take a different approach here or there, because look at that one sprout where if you didn't have the people around you trying to say just do it, it's like to work that's brought you. So just this little, actually that's just on my data sheet here to bring that up to you in the future when you're overthinking tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, remember about the moss.
It's honestly incredible, and I'm not going to get emotional on this podcast, but it's made me emotional many times, because I am super lucky to have people around me like that actually care and like know that that was one of my goals. I can't go back in time. I don't know if I would have posted that video if they told me not to. Like, if I was surrounded by different people who maybe didn't have the best intentions for me, and they were like, oh, like, that's cringy, or like, that's like, you should not post that, and nobody cares about that. Like, I just wouldn't have, because unfortunately I am a result of all the people around me, and luckily the people around me provide me with a lot of love and support. But I think about that a lot. If I didn't post that video, I don't know where my life would be right now. I wouldn't be here. It's just cool. Like, it is really that deep, because it did change my whole life.
So then when it comes to social media in general, I mean, this is a whole conversation. I feel like this could be 2 hours long.
Yeah.
It's very complex.
Yeah.
Very, very complex. And that there's struggles. And I know for me personally, the struggle for me was posting things to garner engagement that aren't at my core, or posting them because I know they would get engagement and it had nothing to do with wildlife or conservation.
Yeah.
To like help with the building of the brand to be able to support conservation, all these different organizations.
Yeah.
And feeding that beast in a really unfortunate way that I didn't want to have to do, to like build that, to then maybe there would be brand support to sponsor a trip, to go to Costa Rica, to be able to do this, to build. And so I think that was always a challenge for me, is seeing something that means so much, like is actually important, like to everybody.
Yeah.
And then like me taking a photo with like my shirt off would do crazy well. And it's like, can you just care about the thing that like actually matters? And that was always a struggle for me, is fuck, okay, well, I want to do this for conservation in these organizations, and that's what I care about most. But if I'm posting too much of that, my engagement's going to sink. My agents is constantly telling me, post more of the other
100%.
stuff. That's what's lucrative.
Yeah.
But it's like a disservice, because I know how good it can be. And if I just lean into this, can continuously to lean into this, dedication, the commitment will show, even though I'm not making money posting these posts and all these things. And now finally there's a transition over time that takes a lot of time to like bring in the audiences that do care about those things, and the ones that wanted your shirt off have now trickled away.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
But I think that finding that balance, and like, yes, feeding the beast here and there in some capacity, has that been a struggle for you? Because I think we all have little tastes of it in little ways. And how do you navigate that whole space, especially as a woman in conservation, which I think, you know, we as men can have some of that, but it's I can fluff it off. And I think it could be different from your lens as a woman in this space.
Yeah, that is something that, like, I've absolutely not figured out yet. It's like as we spoke about, like, it's something that changes for me every day. Like, I yeah, whenever I first thought I wanted to do social media, it was exactly that. I was posting to the trends, I was posting things that I thought people wanted, which was the more like you just I was posting my looks. Like, it was a selfie or if it was whatever. And then it sounds corny, but I genuinely feel like now that I want that to be the least interesting thing about me. Like, I feel like I have a lot of important stuff to say. And that's something now that's really obviously difficult. You can't control who your content reaches. For me, if it resonates with people, obviously that's great. I want the commentary to be respectful. And I also want to be taken seriously. Like, I understand, like, I think people think that they're being nice when they leave certain types of comments on my videos or on my photos, but I feel like what I'm saying is really genuinely interesting, and I would like that message to be conveyed. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I go back and forth on it, because if people are watching for that, and then because of their viewership and because of their engagement, it's reaching the people who it actually should reach, sure, as long as it's respectful. But yeah, I don't know, it's a really confusing space, and I've been doing social media full time for just over 2 years now, and I still feel like it's the way that I handle it and the way that I look at it changes weekly.
Yeah, and I think it's always going to be something to adjust to, because you're never going to be able to get rid of it.
No.
It'll always be there. I think the nice thing is, in some way, although we always complain about the algorithms and this and that's constantly changing, keeping up with this and where to post this and this, and how do we get our stuff out, because we naturally, as conservationists in the wildlife space, are up battling against like ridiculous pranks and funny things, entertaining things, which is a little more uplifting, easy to watch, not overly informative. And so it's just a really difficult space to grow in and compete in on a regular basis. But I do think that the switch now, where there's more, they call it interest media, where that should help hopefully to try and solve those things, because the people that are generally interested in that type of content, it'll be pushed towards.
Yeah.
So you're kind of filtering out hopefully the people that are not there for the reason that the post is about.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny too, because I'm sure there are certain posts that have kind of brought in a certain type of audience, but then when people stick around, I don't know what that is, and I want to know what that is. Certain posts will bring in a certain type of audience, which is fine, but then sometimes I also see like these fluctuations in my followers, because then my next like 5 posts will be like my most recent was about ants, and the one before that was about birds. So when people realize like that's the type of content I'm posting, you can go if that's not what you're interested in, but I want to keep those people who actually care about that stuff.
So when you're like, essentially, great, it's like you are leveraging media to educate people, right? So you're an entertainer in some regard, but realistically, and you know, part of what SOSA is trying to do, and there's a lot of the I would say like the marketing angles take it as like storytelling, right? And so as a SOSA storyteller, what is storytelling to you, and how does that actually pertain to like the story of conservation, but like all these little, like, what is different between just posting a piece of media and like the actual story?
Great question. Let me think about that for a second. I want to think about my words. Because there is a big difference, and it's something that I struggle with short form content. That's why I'm trying to lean into more longer form content, because especially with the conservation space, it's so hard to give a full synopsis of what's going on in a short little post. So I think I'm trying to think about like.
That's why it's a good question,
It's
because it is challenging.
Like,
there is
it is challenging, and I guess I'm trying to think of how I want to frame it or answer it. Like the difference between posting a piece of content versus storytelling. I
think from my view, it's like willy-nilly posting content, right, can like help engagement on a really
Yeah.
cool topic. Maybe it's that the fern that you posted, right? And in the big picture, it's a part of a conservation story, but it's a very small
Yeah.
0.001 piece. And I think you're right in that longer form, you are able to tell the story. Now, the story is massive because it's a global problem.
Yeah.
And the story is, the issue is the same across the globe, but the chapters are all different depending on where you are,
Yeah.
you know, and all of that. And so the story, long form, is definitely what I feel the better way to go. But within that, each species has their story, and
Yeah.
and so it's all storytelling.
Yeah.
But the story is like this. It's like the never-ending story in that there's so many chapters and mini chapters, and
Yeah.
I don't know anything about novels 'cause I don't read, but like not sequels. That's a
especially-
movie, but like you know what I'm saying. There's like segues. No, maybe not segue, or it like branches off, and it's like this is a parenthesis, and maybe not. No, that's a punctuation.
Okay, I'm gonna take.
I said that I was a 50 student. Okay.
No, I think like with my videos, at least with a lot of them, especially if I'm working with NGOs, it's touching on everything. Obviously, it's social media, especially in short form. You have to have the hook, but I don't. Yeah, you have to have the hook. It has to be engaging, but then I want to give fun facts, so it provides a bit of information. But then I also want to give backstory of like why we're doing what we're doing, because sometimes we're in areas that maybe like the general public can't go or shouldn't go, or maybe we're working with a company who is trying to get certain key messaging across, and it's completely different for every scenario, for every video, for every foundation of what they want to get across. Like an example that just popped into my head is I recently did the work in Ecuador, and we found the Mindo toad, and I was super excited. It was groundbreaking. They have never found tadpoles of this toad before. It was amazing stuff, and there were people commenting, like I was getting hate from it, saying like, leave them alone, you shouldn't touch them, because we had to take some of the tadpoles and bring them to a lab, and people were commenting these negative things. And in that moment, I wasn't even upset with the hate, because it's just a lack of education on the subject.
Yeah.
So I then am going back being like, okay, next time I do a video on this, or next time I do any video, like it needs to include all those parts, but how do you keep that viewership and keep that engagement while getting the maybe less exciting parts across? You can't. So that's why, yeah, long form is a lot easier, but it's just, yeah, storytelling is so important in so many ways, because a lot of people don't even know that these things are happening. But then when you tell them that it's happening, they don't have they might not have any backstory. They might not even know that species exists. So it's super hard.
Well, I think the thing that is the most challenging, especially from people who I think you would think would be the most supportive, sometimes aren't so much, or maybe they just don't understand. But I think it's easier to come at any post negatively and find the pessimistic view on it, especially as it pertains to what we get to do. And it is, you know, for me especially, and I imagine you're saying, very grateful for the opportunity to be able to do these things. Now, it's definitely not as glamorous as people think, not even close, doesn't pay very well. You know, you're working in a complex scenario where you have conservation organizations that you're trying to, you know, deliver for. There's not a lot of money in conservation.
Yeah.
And so people are going to find it's almost like a bitterness, maybe sometimes it's jealousy. I think sometimes of when there's negative stuff that comes through, and it's like, you don't understand the full picture concept. And yes, this is a 1 minute snippet of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But then come to my YouTube page and let me explain it to you before coming at me on something you have no idea the full picture on.
Exactly. I think some people go about it in a challenge, like I don't know, bit of a controversial way as well, of people that use their short form for almost like clickbaity stuff to direct people to long form. But unfortunately, we're living in a short form content world, so people see that small snippet and they're taking that as it is without the context. So the conservation space is extremely hard to navigate. I also have experienced like just I'll call it backlash for just such funny things, like commentary from other people in the space of if I've like pronounced something wrong, or if like, I'm trying to think of like silly little examples, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, but it gets to a point where I'm like, it's such a non-problem. We're doing so much more. We're doing bigger things. And I just feel like the close space of it can be very nitpicky, which can be really challenging. Again, entitled to their opinions, but I don't know. I just feel like we need to look at bigger picture sometimes.
Yeah, and again, I just think that comes, especially to post it publicly.
Yeah.
You're only trying to like shame, again, like I think this is a competitive space, regardless if you are a nonprofit organization or you're a professional or creator in this space. There's not a lot of space for it and not a lot of money to go around. And so I think there's,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of toxicity in this space, and I've seen that across the board and
Yeah.
in every single way, shape, and form. And I think that's the most challenging thing for us, so myself, to navigate, because there's
Yeah.
so much need. Everyone's a little desperate in little ways, especially after all of the transitions that's happened with the funding cuts in the USA that were, you know, funding big projects around the world, and now funding gets cut, and now everyone's like,
Yeah.
you're supporting them, but like there's a lot of that's challenging to
Yeah.
navigate. And I also think that you're right in that I will try to fine tune comb,
Fine.
scan through things that I've discussed. There's a lot of prep that goes into trying to make sure that things are delivered properly, especially when it comes to the NGO or whoever we're representing for key messaging, and making sure that we're delivering statistics, data correctly, because it's our responsibility to help leverage their important work.
Yep.
So it's got to be done perfectly.
Yeah.
But then there's always something, or someone's negative about you work with them or I wouldn't work with them. And that's so challenging. It's like we're all in this together. We all might not agree on the methods, techniques, or whatever it is, but like, let's all keep looking at the big picture here. And that's what I think is irks me.
Yeah.
That's the word. It irks me when it's like,
Like, this is a good word to
yeah,
describe it.
I'm just trying.
Yeah. And if I'm outright wrong on anything, then yeah, sure. But I think bigger picture is always important. But yeah, I don't know. People have really strong opinions about it. I think I've even noticed a shift in content creation, like from when I got into it 2 years ago to now. At the beginning, it was kind of, there's enough food at the table for everyone. It felt a little bit different. Maybe it's just because I was newer to the space and no one was worried about me because I didn't have anything really going yet. But now I feel like it's definitely shifted. Budgets have shifted, which just makes everything a little bit harder.
So when you're navigating all of this, right, like, you know, we've already discussed about like, hey, you know, there's potential to go and do this project or that project. And, you know, this is even just an opportunity where you've come on board. How is it that you navigate this space and are able to fund it? Because in most cases, you're either supporting an organization somewhere globally, which requires funding, accommodation, flights, food, all of those things.
Yep.
You're not, in most cases, probably not getting funding or marketing budget from nonprofit. A lot of it comes other ways. How is it that you are maintaining what you're doing and staying afloat, or actually finding a way to just not feel the constant stress? Because it's just not a lucrative industry when it comes to like financials and like sustaining yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there are, like, I've been lucky to get great brand partnerships. That's the only income I have. Obviously, we're Canadian, so we don't get anything from any platform, just from like viewership. So yeah, it's just been through brand partnerships, and I've been lucky to have people that just want to be involved in that messaging that we're putting out, or that I'm putting out, and yeah, that's sort of. And I've been, obviously, most of what I'm making through those things is reinvested into the experience. So like with most trips, I will try and reach out to a few brands that maybe have any relevance in the project, or if I'm wearing a jacket or something, they'll kind of provide some sponsorship, and then that's just reinvested into the experience, and then also going towards whoever I'm working with for that experience.
Yeah, like that. It's like the constant, and you've seen me on calls and dealing with things and this and that. It's like there's constant stressors that, with all the moving pieces, when you show up to a project, especially like one like this, where you're bouncing from conservation organization to the next, it's like, okay, one, SOSA, okay, is Macaila good? How are we making sure she's good? She knows what's going on. All that's managed. Okay, Scott's good. This, all the back end stuff that's happening. Going to this organization. Okay, we're going to help them with this piece for content to get this messaging out for this donation, this petition, this.
Yeah.
And then you build brands into it. And there's just a component that I think people feel like they're seeing these rich moments that are on camera with, you know, the I don't know, it could be a sloth, for example. Like,
Yeah.
you're so, and it's like, honestly, there's so much going on
Yeah.
that I'm never fully present because I'm always making sure that I'm delivering this. Was the audio, like, there's so many things that come into it that it's a constant battle to be like, is this going to be sustainable and maintainable? Do you feel like you burn out across trying to manage all of these things, find opportunities, find a way to actually finance yourself to go do the opportunity? Do you feel like there are situations where you want to go do something, but it's just like, it's not feasible?
I mean, let me think. I'm trying to gather my words.
This just tells me that I'm a really great interviewer.
You're a great interviewer. I'm also it's so hot. I'm so hot.
Just keep going. We're doing so well. It's been 40 minutes.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have a sip of that too while you do that. Still hot. Okay, sorry about that. Again, yeah, over the last couple of years, the way that I've handled social media is completely changed, and the balance has become very different of how I balance kind of work and life as well, because I feel so incredibly grateful to do all of these things, but I also have to allocate time to just like be in it and enjoy it. So I think in that case, the way that I have it now does feel more sustainable. Also, I do feel a bit extra lucky because I have the educational background in it. I always feel like I sort of have a fail-safe. Like, if for whatever reason content creation burns out, social media dies, like whatever, I'll still be in the space in some capacity. Yeah. Like, I'll always live in the environmental space, which is something that I think can attest to what I'm doing now, because I do really care. I'm going to be in this either way. I just feel like this is an opportunity that I have to take to be that storyteller. Because I think a lot of people too, the NGOs that I'm working with or foundations that I'm working with, they have the most incredible teams and they're doing the most incredible work, but they don't always have the capacity to bring that to a bigger platform. And I feel like I am really lucky to have the ability to kind of translate this messaging to a greater audience. And my biggest goal with content is for it to be accessible. I always think about it, I want my sibling, I have 4 young siblings, I want them to be able to understand it the same way that my grandparents will understand it, same way my friends will understand it. And I think like if I can do that, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't be able to keep doing this. But again, if something changes, I'll always be in the space.
Now, when you speak on goals, right? Like, there's like, yeah, it'd be great to continue to do this and like work in the conservation space because it, again, like it's rewarding. It's feel good work. There's a lot of moments and where it's just like, it's uplifting. It's like inspirational. There's all of that. But what is the big picture goal? Not from like a Macaila standpoint of like what you want to do or aspire to necessarily, but like what is, if you're a piece in this puzzle of this whole story, what is the goal? Or like, what is it that actually, aside from just getting to do cool experiences and get a paycheck every once in a while, why is it that you're doing this? You speak about siblings and all of that, but like, what is the actual goal?
I want people to care. Like, it sounds corny, but I love this stuff. So I love the big stuff. I love the little stuff. I'll get almost just as excited as seeing like a rhino as I will seeing, you saw a little dart frog in the forest. Like, I think we're so lucky to be able to see and witness these species and to be in nature in this way. And my favorite comments that I get are from people saying like, I don't know if I'll ever see that in my life, so like, thank you for showing me this. And like, in any capacity, like all of these things, I just want to be able to bring that to a different audience. I think like goal wise, I just want to get that important messaging out there to people. And I remember like when I was growing up, I had the Kratt brothers and with Zaboomafoo, and I had the Irwin family, and those people completely shaped who I am today. And they made me excited about animals and excited about those experiences. And if I could be that for any generation or anyone like that's watching those videos, that is so special to me. And you don't know the impact that you have, because someone like could watch a video that I did about the Honduran bats, and they may have not known that they existed. And now that they know that and they're excited, and maybe they'll book a trip. Like if they're, you don't know, like if they're that excited, they'll come out and they'll want to see those things. So I just think that we don't ever fully understand that the impact that we have. If I can impact anyone in that way, I'm very happy.
Yeah, and I think the same way in which you're saying that you were inspired, or how you got into that, like the people that kind of push that, being, yes, the Kratz brothers, the Zabumafu and all that, which is the exact same. I could,
yeah, of course.
I have the Zabumafu.
Now we can be that.
Yeah, well, maybe one day. I don't have the enthusiasm that you do, especially when it comes to like little things and amphibians and all that. But
I'll work on it.
Yeah, I got to get rid of the stress first. But I also found them to be the ones, those shows, those people that like through that excitement and really grabbed my curiosity and would glue me to the screen.
Yeah.
And I think the more the entertainment and the whole TV film industry is really changing now. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of like shows specifically around that, and so that creator space and social media in general, being that it's going to be in front of kids and as early as 5 and 6 are now on these things, and how important it is and how lucrative it is to get that content in front of their face as early as possible, mm-hmm. to grab that curiosity when it's the most fragile and moldable, yeah. Is important. And so I think there's the more even just eco-conscious, sustainable content from like yeah. wildlife to conservation to anything helps shape decision making and how they grow up and respect or disrespect all of this. And I know that I was lucky enough to like grab a hold of one episode of Zabumafu, mm-hmm. and what that kind of turned into. So yes, I think big picture goals, realistically, it's hard to change old dogs in their old ways, in which I think some can maybe be converted in these older generations.
Yeah.
Some are probably set in their ways, but how can we actually grab hold of the younger generation, and how do we strategize the content around that and getting it from their face early? Because realistically, the trajectory that we're going at now with the leaders and the adults that we have in this space has constantly kind of been like mm-hmm. this. So do we try to like reshape them, or do we just look at the next generation coming up and try to,
get in front of their eyes? I don't know the correct way to go about it at all. I think that like there's a way to be engaging, and there's a way to just putting that content out there, because again, you can't choose the algorithm that it gets onto. I've had teachers message me, I've had parents message me saying that they show their kids, like you never know what the algorithm is. I think as long as like we're putting out content that we're proud of and we're excited about, and it has that messaging, that's kind of all we can do. And like, yeah, bigger picture down the line, would absolutely love to have a show, like a nature show on a larger platform, to just get in front of people and get them excited, because people don't know that they have reasons to get excited either. Like people will see like those bats and they'll be like, hey, that's a bat. But it's like when you tell them little fun facts that come along with it, it makes it exciting. So I think, yeah, that's kind of our job in this space, to zhuzh it up.
Zhuzh.
Zhuzh it up.
I think too, I've always liked like wildlife and like working with animals in some capacity, and always found a way to kind of do that along the way, or just be involved in that space because it's just something I care about. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until I went to South Africa to do that volunteer program with Care for Wild and getting ingrained in rhino conservation and understanding the poaching crisis and why all of these orphaned rhinos were around, that it was like the what I call the aha moment, where it's like, okay, this is like what fires me up.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we compete in this world where there's all these other things that don't necessarily have the purpose or like the natural, pure, raw need, or what rattles me is that like, it's like almost like having Pokemon cards, okay? You stare at Pokemon cards and people are obsessed with it. It's on a piece of paper. It's like, we literally have living Pokemons all over the world.
Yeah.
How have we not found a way to get everyone that ecstatic and curious and wanting to like, just want all the knowledge and want all the things? And I'd never understood that. And I think for me, it's like, how do we get people to connect? Like, how do we get them to connect? Because not everyone can afford to go to Galapagos, to
Yeah.
Africa, and they're watching a screen. And sometimes it's simply David Attenborough, love you, David. But like, you know, sometimes that content is not engaging enough for certain personality types, like
Yeah.
all those things. And it's like, how, and especially when it comes to nonprofit organizations, again, love you scientists and researchers, but sometimes it's not just the most engaging stuff, important data for
Yeah.
sure, all of that. But like, how do we find a way to make that engaging and actually try to get them to connect? Because they're never maybe ever going to go to Africa.
Yeah.
I connected there and was like, wow, yes, that's it. But like, if I never went to Africa, would I have that spark that then made me,
Yeah.
you know, and like through a screen, how much can you do? And like, how authentic, how organic, how real and raw can we be to feel like we're letting them in through a screen as much as possible, and not so polished, not so data heavy, but they feel like they're there with you. And I
Yeah.
don't know what that looks like. It's a gap we're trying to figure out how to fill.
Same.
And just being a little bit more real and raw in it. But the challenge comes in that, especially being with conservation organizations, the amount of sensitivity in that coming in, and there's a fine line between being raw and real, maybe being either too disrespectful or like, no, they want you to be more professional. It's their work that you're representing, but like, we want you to be you and be clean and professional.
Yeah.
We know you're an image, you're a founder of this organization, but let us try to deliver that, take the heat off you,
Yeah.
but let us deliver that in a different kind of lens and way.
Yeah.
All under the same umbrella, that everything is all your facts, your information, all of that. Let us try to deliver it in a different way.
Yeah.
So that we can try to fit an audience in a that just won't resonate with the overly polished, too data heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Where can we grab that and run with that? Which at the same time, and I think is challenging, is like, no offense, you know, like for example, Real Tarzan and things, right? Where like they go way overboard.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like they're getting all the clicks and all these things, but they don't necessarily have the reputation or the credibility with conservation organizations. They're doing a ton of work that would love those clicks,
Yeah.
but they don't use those animals in those ways. So it's that balance of like, what's entertaining, you know, where's that gap? What can we post, not post?
Yeah.
Still knowing that we have a heart to know what's right and ethical. Like, there's all that navigating that comes into content creation, who we partner with, there's so much that goes into it. And I don't know what that gap, how we can actually fill it by making sure everyone's happy all the time. And I think you're always going to get people pessimistically saying X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is just the tool method we're going to try to use to try and help and do this, because we don't have the credibility and the science background on this.
Yeah.
But we're all just still trying to go towards the same goal. I think the number one thing is not making sure that it's not clickbaiting in the sense of like unethical exploitation of wildlife is the number one rule. And then just working with organizations and making sure that the messaging is appropriate to the
Yeah.
visual.
Well, it's extremely frustrating, to watch, especially short form content. You see people, well, Thailand is a great example, but like going to these places and they're like riding an elephant or like touching and like hanging out with an elephant. And those are the types of videos that go crazy. And it's really frustrating because people don't really care. They watch that brief clip and then they like it and they've moved on, but there's no messaging, especially that it's like obviously terrible and like exploitation. But yeah, I don't know how to combine those two things completely yet. I think it's going to be an ever-changing thing. The algorithm is always changing and somehow always just 5 steps ahead of what we're trying to do. But yeah, it makes it really hard to live in that space.
How do you, I guess in general, because I mean, I have my view on it, but like, what is your pro and con of, I don't know, call it like Ocean Ramsey, call it, you know, Real Tarzan, that are very on that side
Yeah.
of it? What is, because, I mean, I'll have my view and I'll give you mine after you give me yours. But what does that opinion, or where do you draw lines, and where do you think the pros and cons of that content is?
It's a great question. Um, I don't know. I go back and forth on that as well. I had a big conversation with someone, specifically on the Ocean Ramsey chat, because of, I think it was like a Netflix documentary that came out. I don't know. Like, I see the benefit, obviously, in getting this messaging out and getting people to care about sharks and the work that she's doing, but I don't think that the way that these people are going about it is necessarily great. And I don't think it's an example that we should set. And I don't think that people should want to go and swim with sharks and touch them and try and hold their fins. I think it is very helpful in a lot of ways, but it's also extremely contradicting in more. It's not really a journey that I want to go on. And yeah, it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, I mean, this again could be a whole other conversation, but I think in the short of it is like, in some ways, I think it's smaller than it is greater for cons. Brings awareness to certain species, right? Do I think that Real Tarzan, for example, is doing nearly what the Kratz brothers did and delivering that messaging in the same angle? Nowhere near, right? And there's like a whole different tone and element and energy to it, and that is one thing. Do I think that picking some of those people that are watching this content to be like, that's really cool, now I love an anaconda I don't know, maybe they're diving, they love anacondas, and maybe based on just seeing it, not even knowing anything about it, because there are pieces where sure he'll lean into conservation angles and talk on things, because I do think in him he loves animals.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And
which
so that's
great.
the challenge, right? And so, and the same with Ocean Ramsey, I think it's the same, where it's her way to try to do what's best, but I think it's misinformed and doesn't give the correct lens. And I think it's challenging, that knowing that there's probably a lot more that could be done on their end in terms of like pushing conservation and funding and things like that. But it is a challenging space to navigate. And I know for a lot of conservation organizations that would love that type of viewership that could also go that direction, but stay aligned on that front, that they don't, because of what's ethical and so it's a conversation for debate.
Yeah.
That we could dive into another time, but I think it's one that constantly raises flags and is always brought up, in this space.
Yeah, I do think it's more harmful than it is beneficial. And I can understand, like, if you love animals and you're getting excited about animals, but I think going and like jumping on animals in the river and then like pulling them out of their environment, stressing them out, like I don't see how there's much good in that, other than maybe showing people this animal. But I don't really like that approach, and I've not ever really supported any content that takes that approach. Doesn't really make sense to me.
No,
it's very contradicting.
No. I'm with you, but it's, it's challenging when you see all that happening. I was like,
yeah.
Just would love to put all that reach on this specific piece, but again, like, it's the entertainment value, right? It's like, this is entertaining versus this. It's like,
yeah,
right, and that's the challenging piece, and it's like picking moments, but that all the time. Wrong messaging, wrong visual, wrong thing for generations coming up.
100%.
And just a kind of a disrespectful angle to it, although I think they're trying to mean well, but I think they also know how much money is coming in through doing that.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting that beast of probably knowing what's ethical and right, also with entertaining what they want, because it's a lot of it's ego driven in a lot of the space. You want to get close to animals, you want to engage, you want to bond, you want those things. But it's like fighting that and then fighting the money that's also been coming with that through those clicks and doing that type of thing.
Yeah, well, because also, obviously, there's so many people like us who don't agree with it, but those people that are commenting all those negative things is still bringing the engagement and viewership, and then it's blowing it up to reach a really big audience of people who just don't care or don't know that it's bad, or like they're just watching that quick clip and then scrolling past. So it's like, yeah, it's always going to get engagement. It's just unfortunate that that's where we're at.
Yeah, and the thing is, I do think I think they're in love with the species that they work with. I think they do love animals, but I think they're fighting the inner beast of like, but it's paying me bank right now.
Yeah.
And like, that is the challenge that they're probably fighting internally.
I like to think that hopefully people like that will get to a point and realize like they have to live with that. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about it in a different way, but I'm like, I physically couldn't live with myself if the way that I was reaching those audiences was by like exploiting these animals and kind of supporting these unethical practices. You just have to live with that forever. That's you. And I think that that's awful.
Yeah, no, it's a challenging space. And so I think staying on the right side of all of that and aligning with consistent conservation organization standards and just your own internal standards to like, is this necessary? Does this feel right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah. Honestly, those videos rarely are popping up on my algorithm, I think for a reason. So I think just, again, going back to like focusing on what we're putting out and making sure that there is good content out there to be consumed, it will reach the right people, the people who actually care to make a difference and care to watch. But yeah, I think just with those things, just not engaging is the most important part.
Now, with all of that, and then knowing there's so many different species out there, is there a family, a genus, a kingdom that like you really resonate with, that you love, that you have worked with, that changed your perspective, that you fell in love with a little bit more? And on the flip side, is there a certain species or maybe just an ecosystem that you would love to visit that you haven't yet?
Love those questions. Ecosystem wise, I belong in a rainforest. That is just where I feel the best. Especially when we just did our amphibian night walk, like stuff like that is my absolute favorite thing to do. And I never would have thought that that would have been the direction that I went. Then again, literally everything makes me excited. And I think the most powerful moment that I've had with wildlife was in Kenya with the African elephants. That was, it's so cliche because of course everyone loves elephants, it's one of those things, but that was a moment that completely changed my life. I think I had everything all kind of come together. We were out on safari. It was our first morning out in the Masai Mara, and we turned a corner and there was all these elephants and they had their tusks because Kenya's doing a lot better with their poaching and everything now. But I just had this like out of body experience of like, I've always wanted to see an elephant in the wild. Now I'm seeing like 30 of them together, and I'm here for work. I'm doing like a wildlife series in Kenya. Like, what do you mean? That's insane. So it was really, I just bawled my eyes out. I think that was to date the most powerful experience that I've had. That just made me realize that I'm super lucky to get to do this. But then, yeah, as far as places I want to visit or other things I want to do, Antarctica is at the very top of my list. Right now, I'm really drawn to cold climates. It's really hot right now. I'm really sweating and I love it. I love it here so much. But I'm, yeah, really, really drawn to cold climates. I want to go to Antarctica so badly.
Yeah, I'm also craving the cold a little bit right now, and I'm just wanting a nice little fire and to just bundle up and take a load off all of the travel that's happened over the last year, which has been crazy. I know I have a crazy lineup coming up, and moving into the new year, is there big projects on the horizon for you? What big things are you actually looking forward to? Yeah, like what is 2026 for Macaila?
2026 is going to be amazing. I think last year was me really getting my bearings of being in the content world. This year was really dialing in what that looks like. This year I put so much focus on like working with conservation foundations, working with NGOs. Everything sort of shifted. Last year was like, yeah, taking kind of whatever came in. This year is like, no, what do I want this to look like? How am I going to make this sustainable? And I feel like I did well to kind of dial that in of how I want to carry myself through this. Next year, I'm really excited because now I feel like I have kind of that base to work off of. And also through finding what I'm really excited about and what I really want to do, all these new opportunities are coming through the door that really resonate. So the plan is to keep working with NGOs, keep working with conservation foundations, and keep storytelling for so many different things. I'm going back to Churchill, which full circle back to our beginning of our conversation is kind of where a lot of this began. Polar bear capital of the world, and going there while the belugas are migrating, which is really neat. I'm just going to try and take every opportunity, to be honest, and really dial in what I want to do.
Well, speaking of opportunities, you took the opportunity to come out here. This chat was good. It was not as scary as you thought.
It was a little bit scary.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. I was like melting. It's really hot, and now there's a really bright light on it. I feel like I'm melting.
It's the moon. It's not a light setup. It's the moon.
It's a full moon.
But no, appreciate the conversation. I think that gives people a little bit more insight to who Macaila is, who Macaila wants to be, what Macaila cares about. And so if you want to follow along on Macaila's journey here in Costa Rica, you can do so at one of our other episodes. Otherwise, you can go and check out Macaila's Instagram at Macaila.
It is Macaila.
It's Macaila.
4 L's.
4 L's. She
I
also
made it in
has.
high school and I couldn't change it.
She also has a YouTube channel you can check out. We will plug that right here because I do not know it and did not do my homework.
It's Macaila.
That is also Macaila. Thank you for watching. If you want to support any of Macaila's work, you can go to her page. She's working with multiple different organizations. And if you want to just learn more about all the interesting facts and little things that Macaila cares about a little bit more than I do, follow her for that. Follow me for everything else. Thank you for watching, and we'll check you on the next Wild Ones. See ya.
Thanks for having me.